Salad or Dolly, threw a great party. We all drank Bacardi, it got kinda gnarly. We're light as a feather, we're tougher than leather. Together we're weirder together.
Hello, this is Ben Lee.
And Ione, Skye.
And we are.
Weirder together. We're in Sydney still. It's torrentially pouring summer rain.
You're getting ready to leave tomorrow on this worldwide press junket in which you are going to clarify that you never smoked crack across the board. That is not going to be allowed to sneak into one of these articles.
I did a big interview with London Calling, and you just start these long form interviews. You just start chatting, and I was saying, we were just talking about drugs in general and what drugs are taboo, and I was like, heroin and crack are like the taboo drugs. And then in the middle of the night, I woke up and I thought, wait, does she think that means I tried crack? Because we were just talking in general terms. So.
Now, you do talk about heroin in the book. We're talking about Say Everything, your memoir, out in a few weeks. Do you feel that there is a stigma to crack use?
Both heroin and crack are in the same stigma.
Okay, but you do talk about using heroin. There's still some sanctity of your innocence that you're trying to protect in this?
I don't know. I just woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, wait, I'm a truthful. I just want to tell the truth.
You're like, call me a junkie, just don't call me a crackhead.
I wasn't a junkie.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Now I'm gonna have to call you tomorrow.
I know, I'm sorry. We have a bit of a special episode today because I'll read you this email I got this morning. Dear friends, this is from Alexa Robbins, who is Tom Robbins, a famous author and collaborator of mine. Dear friends, my beloved Tom peacefully passed away yesterday. He was surrounded by his family and loyal pets. Throughout these difficult last chapters, he was brave, funny, and sweet. Tom was cared for by his loved ones, devoted caregivers, and hospice of the Northwest. I'm grateful Tom lived as long as he did. He had an eternally youthful spirit. People thought he was my elder. He was really the kid. Because of his sense of play, he didn't want a somber service. He asked that people remember him by reading his books. Tom was devoted to his readers, family, friends, community, and me. He was so good at loving people. His readers felt he was speaking directly to them. He received daily love letters and he tried to answer everyone. I'm grateful I had such a magnificent husband. I'll miss him forever. Tom was the best friend and husband I could have asked for. We shared 36 beautiful and adventurous years together. If there's such a thing as a soulmate, he was mine. 2 years ago, Lacona held a grand parade in Tom's honor. That celebration was the best kind of memorial because he was there to enjoy it. Tom's spirit will live on in his novels, our museum, library, and animal rescue. 2 children's art programs have been established in his honor. As I steward his novels into the future, I'll continue to support our shared values. His message of hope and joy in spite of everything is even more valuable today than ever. If you open one of his novels, you'll still find him there. He'll be laughing, dancing, and sharing his crazy wisdom with you. Thank you for loving Tom so much. In his honor, donations may be made to Hospice of the Northwest, the Museum of Northwest Art, the Lacona Swinomish Library, and Spot Animal Rescue. Love, Alexa. And then there's 2 quotes of Tom's. A sense of humor is superior to any religion so far devised, and people are never perfect, but love can be.
Aww.
So, look, Tom was 92.
Yeah.
So it's not that his life was cut tragically short, but there's, it's
beautiful still. It's still hard.
It's very moving. And for me, we wanted to talk a bit about Tom Robbins today and about some stories about him and how the role he played in our lives, because it was very meaningful.
Yeah, Jitterbug Perfume and all of, I think I've read 3 of his books.
Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, you would have read.
And maybe Skinny Legs and all. He was just such a massive writer I would say the 80s was like his biggest time of...
Yeah, well, he started in the 60s, but yes, he was like kind of in the 80s, he was pretty regarded as
I guess
one
he
of
had,
the top writers.
resurgence. and then I don't know. I was thinking about Gus Van Sant, who made a movie.
Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Yeah.
And they were friends. And then I don't remember how you became friends with him. Like, I never would have thought as a fan of his, I would know him. It's always that funny thing where you're like, you don't think you'll ever be friendly with someone you like look up to so much.
Well, it was quite an amazing, the way it all happened was really incredible. If you remember, Goldie was maybe 6 months or 1 year old. And I'd been having this conversation with my agent at WME, and they'd been trying to get me to write a musical. And this was just after Spring Awakening, Duncan Sheik's musical, had done so well. And there was a real movement towards getting younger singer-songwriters into the Broadway realm. So there was this kind of, come on, Ben, come with ideas, come with ideas.
We'll turn it into a musical.
So we went to, it's Gould's, right? That's the big bookshop in Portland.
Yeah.
Biggest bookshop in the world, secondhand bookshop. And I remember seeing the spine, B is for beer. And it was B with one of those childhood play blocks.
Yeah.
And I saw Tom Robbins, and I knew I'd read Jitterbug Perfume and I'd seen Skinny Legs at All. It was a book that my parents or sisters had in the house.
Yeah.
So it was one of those books that like
jumps out at you.
Yeah, much like Roxy Music Avalon. I never listened to the album, but I stared at the cover a lot as a kid, and it conjured a whole world. And I saw it on a marquee. Like as I looked at the spine, I was like, that's the name of a musical. That's going to be amazing. And I devoured it, and basically started a, oh my gosh, 12-year-long, 13-year-long process that ended with this show never really being actually staged. But we had a lot of...
It's one of those great things where you don't know why something had to happen, but you realize it's more, you had this incredible friendship with Tom. So you thought the whole time it's kind of about trying to get a musical together, but really it's about knowing Tom for that many years.
Yeah, I think that's right. I was very naive about the process of writing a musical going into it, as I am with most new ventures. I don't know how they work at all. I just go in and try them.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, I mean, where to start with this thing? I mean, we wrote him a letter, me and my friend Peter, who had written a couple musicals. He wrote Dogfight, that one based on the River Phoenix movie. We wrote Tom a letter, and we're basically like, hey, we'd like to make a musical of this show, and got an email back from his agent saying, can you give Tom a call? And I remember me and Peter were both so nervous. This is at this point, he must have been, well, Goldie was 1 and she's now 15. So this is 14 years ago. So he's in his late 70s, an American master, and just getting on the phone with him. And I remember him having a certain type of, I don't know if it's skepticism or suspicion, but as I got to know Tom through working with him, I realized that his intentions were always very pure. Like he wanted to make work to like blow people's minds and open their hearts. And he had seen a lot of people come to him over the years with like, can we do this? Can we do that? And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to take these themes or these stories and characters. But what was funny about this project was, it's about, B is for Beer is about a little girl. It's a children's story. We called it a psychedelic children's story about alcohol. And it's about a little girl who on her, I think in the book she's 5 turning 6. And on her 6th birthday, she steals her dad's beer, drinks it, passes out and vomits and gets a visit from the beer fairy who takes her on a journey through time and space to understand consciousness. So it ticked off so many boxes for me of what I like in art. It's playful, subversive, psychedelic, spiritual, super intelligent, but not something you would say is destined for the mainstream.
But you got this friendship, and his emails were as well written as you hoped. Like he was so good at writing. And also we did have a production of it at one point, a workshop, and his Q&A was like, I'm sorry to say, like better than the production. So everyone sits through this really cool production of B is for Beer with top A-list actors and singers. like beyond, I won't go through who they were, but just like this production that was just like amazing. And then Tom does a Q&A at Largo, which is a great place in LA for shows and things. And the Q&A he was like so amazing.
Yeah, he was really
And
funny.
so we also visited him in his house, and he's got
Lacona,
this
Washington,
great little town, like a seaside town. And he had Warhols and all this art, and he loved kitschy things like circus posters. And the house, his interior design was so incredible. There was
His style was amazing overall.
God, he's like in his late 80s, early 90s. His clothes were so cool.
Yeah.
And he had the best interior design, like an alligator room with like Lacoste green, like Ralph Lauren Lacoste hand towels with little alligators, and like this alligator poster, and like, but like really high end, but cool. And then his wife, an amazing
Alexa,
tarot card reader.
Oh, yeah.
Just when I was like turning away from all of that spiritual stuff, because I was just like, I've had it up to here with all of that. But she manages to do like tarot readings in a way that's not like culty or heavy or weird, but just like perfect. She's
we
wonderful.
did a couple readings with her.
She's
She
great.
was amazing.
And this town was so great. Anyway, it was what a blessing or whatever.
Yeah, and I think there was so much I wanted to just touch on around Tom. One of the most meaningful moments of where I felt like, because we ended up, we did this whole draft with Peter, and Tom didn't like it. And I realized the only way to get this was if he would write the musical. And it was very funny because Tom has spent decades sitting by himself writing. And I realized that like, wow, collaboration was not something that he'd had as much experience with or had come as easily to him. But the moment I felt like we'd really dropped in together was talking about Steppenwolf, Hermann Hesse. Mm-hmm. And I just brought it up because it felt like, to me, it's kind of like almost like the prototype of a piece of popular culture art that is about all of this psychological and cosmic ideas and makes them digestible. And we talked, there's this amazing scene in Steppenwolf. It's a great little book if you read it. It's an easy book to read. The band Steppenwolf was named after it, but they Hermann Hesse felt that they'd misunderstood the book. But there's an amazing scene where the main character is walking down the street and he passes a sign in an alley that says, "Welcome to the Magic Theatre, for madmen only, not for everybody. Price of admission, your mind." And I always felt, and I said to Tom, I was like, this reminds me of you. And he's like, Hermann Hesse is the greatest American author. And we had this moment where like he understood that I recognized what he was trying to do with his books, which was that they're portals.
Yeah.
They're not just books. They're like you open them up and you get transported. It's like doing acid.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, that's so true.
But I think for me, one of the biggest things that I'm reflecting on with Tom's death is that finding older people as an artist that you can look up to, and it's not even that you want to do things the way they did them, but you see that it's possible to have, like, when I reached out to him, I was a 32-year-old, Australian indie rocker reaching out to a writer in his late 70s who's quite reclusive. And I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea. I want to make a musical of B is for Beer. The fact that he said, okay, let's do it. Like, I want to be like that.
And he came down and was a part of it. It was great.
I want to be like that though. And I think I will be, like in my 70s, 80s, 90s. I want to say yes to cool invitations and experiment and be open.
I know. And yeah, that was just so incredible.
And there is an album people can listen to. So we never got the show up. And I'm convinced we might at some point. Like, I think the story isn't over of Beers for Beer. I'd love it if, say, like, Vivid Festival or one of these festivals, like arts festivals around the world, let us stage the musical. Because it's like a 1 hour, it's pretty out there kind of piece. But we did an album of it, and it's got John Cryer, Belinda Carlisle playing the Beer Fairy, Rose Byrne, Busy Phillips, Paul F. Tompkins,
Sarah Silverman.
Laura Silverman.
Oh, right.
No, Laura is on it. Sarah loved it. No, Laura, she did the book. She did the audiobook of it, and she was helping us trying to produce it when we were turning it into a film. And anyway, but I don't know, it just made me think a lot about mentorship and unexpected mentorship. And are there, when you look back on your career, do you feel that, who were some unexpected mentors that came into your life?
Well, my ex-sister-in-law was a mentor, and we had a bad kind of falling out around my memoir, which was which makes sense because there was some unresolved, hurtful things that happened. She was a mentor because she was just wanted to be, and also I admired her, and so she was someone who gave me books, like Frank O'Hara poems and whatever. She kind of hooked me up with a lot of books. Flea was a mentor. I think, just older, like Royal Shakespeare Company actresses I've worked with who, like I did this TV show in England and I was treated kind of like a hot young actress, and the crew in England were more chauvinistic and like, ooh, like even than Americans. And I was so kind of like taken aback by it. And she said, this older actress who had been married to Peter O'Toole, and I forgot her, Jane Lapotaire, I think it was, said, when you're older, people will respect you. And basically I just thought, okay, I've got like 10, 20 more years of just, I'm going to be overlooked for being just a young woman. But I was looking forward to being older, because she was like, it wasn't like, don't even try to have respect, but you just got to wait until you're older.
Do you think it's still like that? I'm thinking about like pretty women in the entertainment business. Do you think it's still, do they now get a little bit more respect, like as,
I mean, I'm thinking
girl bosses
of,
or whatever?
Who's the woman who, I guess I'm thinking of the obvious, like, I'm going to forget both of their names. The young sort of Scandinavian woman who's the woman who's does stuff for the environment.
Greta Thunberg.
Yes. And that woman who's like Middle Eastern who lost an...
Malala?
Exactly.
Okay, these were not
young. Is she young? No, not Malala.
Yeah, these were not the two people I was expecting you to bring up. I thought we were talking about Billie Eilish.
No, but I'm saying you have to be that extreme to get... these two people, the things they have done are of such a level. It's sort of like that joke that... who's the black comedian?
There's Chris Rock.
The Chris Rock joke that... his neighborhood in
the Chris Rock joke
Jersey,
is that in his neighborhood, like the mansions are, it's either like, it's like Magic Johnson, world's greatest basketballer, Tiger Woods, world's greatest golfer, Chris Rock, one of the world's greatest comedians, and like a white guy who's a dentist.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you have to be at the top. So
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess it's more, I think younger women are getting more and more respect, but yeah, it's more than when I was young.
I think for me, the thing that was highlighted with meeting Tom and allowing myself to admire someone's path as an artist, it just made me realize the difference between, as a creative person, being raised in a family where the process of being an artist is sort of like, there's support with that versus my family where it was
confusing.
I'm saying it in a confusing way because I was confused.
No, your family wasn't sure. They weren't.
Yeah.
I was primed to be, to have the excitement around being in the entertainment business because my mom had creative friends and she already had friends in the entertainment business and I was in LA. So for me and my brother to get into it, it was like, great.
But I don't even mean the entertainment business. I think that's part of it. But I mean the process of being an artist where you're like searching for something. Like the way artists are motivated is we all like to make money, but we're not motivated by money. We're digging and we're like looking for something.
Right.
It's more like being an explorer
Yeah.
or something. And I think that's a big part of what I've tried to support our kids with, the idea that like the journey of exploring what you have to say and what you have to offer, and like that.
Yeah.
It's a very specific kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. The fine line between sort of choosing, well, also that it's okay to choose a kind of an idea of what you might want to do for a living, and that it might change is okay or something. I don't know.
Also, with Tom, I learned a lot about like his stubbornness. It was really funny because one of the things that made it obvious that we weren't, besides the fact that like people do not want to invest a lot of money, which it takes to put a show up on Broadway or off Broadway, in a show where there's the types of legal liabilities about having a child drinking alcohol on stage without condemning it morally. It became clearer and clearer to me, like, oh, this is not a business model that's going to work. But also, Tom, you know, he wrote what he wrote, and that was what he wrote. And he wasn't that interested in taking notes on that. I remember when John Cryer was directing the workshop that we did at Largo, and they spent 2 hours on the phone with him trying to get Tom to change a couple of words and something. And that was the point where it hit me. I was like, oh,
he's not.
This is not, you know.
I bet Gus Van Sant just did what Tom wanted. They had a nice relationship.
I think so. Like Tom said that Gus... once Gus asked for his input, Tom warned him, and he said, I'm warning you, I'm not going to be able to keep my hands off it.
Right.
And Gus was like, okay. And I do think he ended up sort of respecting it. But I think stubbornness, I've always had stubbornness in a certain way, but it was a bit more sort of like ego, like, don't fuck with me, I'm doing my own thing. Whereas the stubbornness I saw from Tom was more just about, I said it the way I wanted to say it.
Yeah.
And it was more like an artist's
like he
stubbornness.
had a complete, something that was complete. Whereas, for example, when I was writing my memoir, I had to have some flexibility, but I was in the process of writing it, like what stories didn't stay and what stories stayed. But if I had a complete, perfect book, I mean, his books are to me perfect, that would be harder to change. Whereas like while you're, you know, I'm sure he had negotiations with himself over his own work. Do you know what I mean? And flexibility with yourself, like knowing what feels good to let go of and what doesn't.
Right. Like even just wrestling with your own drafts of something and trying to perfect
just sort of like,
and,
you know, what I, you know, but I had a pretty light touch.
Yeah. I'm feeling it's funny, like people dying of, I was saying to Goldie this morning, I was like, that he had a full healthy life.
Oh yeah.
Like he was doing Pilates until 8 months ago, you know.
And he was a groovy guy, like in the 60s and 70s. So
yeah, he wasn't like a Puritan or something that like kept the temple, you know. But he was fun and he was cheeky right until the end.
And he didn't need to talk a lot when you hung out with him. It's like
I know.
he was all presence.
I sometimes find that like people that have that big presence where they don't talk a lot, I think because I'm a more nervous chatterbox type, I find it a little scary.
Also so sexy, but I think he was a good guy.
Oh, right. Like not like most people you end up when you peel the onion a little bit, you end up with like some like dark predatory behavior.
I think he was like super hot and sexy, but not.
He loved women.
He loved women so much, but I just think he was a cool guy. So is that our Tom talk?
Yeah, I just wanted to like take a chunk and really just share with people and check out the album. I'll do a link in the show notes.
And keep reading his books.
Yeah, and keep reading his books. And I'll also link to the charities that he was saying. If you want to, you know, there's so many things going on in the world, but if you want to donate $5 as a, you know, in memory of him, like they're really nice. They cared for a lot of animals and little doggies and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. So you're leaving tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
We're going to be apart for a month. Intense.
I was trying to remember if we've ever been apart for a month, and you said we have.
Yeah, it ain't pretty. Dan, you got to be ready for a coming home fight. That's, you know, the coming home fight. People that aren't in like intense relationship, they don't realize.
Yes, I might have said this before on the podcast, but I was friendly with Dave Navarro, and he was with Carmen Electra. Is that her name?
Yeah.
And I never forget him saying re-entry is a bitch. And I was like, what is that? Thinking
What a way with words. Yeah, he does that.
and
yeah.
I thought, why would it be when you separate from your partner and then you're just like, yay, but you just have to have a fight because emotionally, intellectually, you're like, you can't blame someone, they were working or whatever, but emotionally you feel abandoned and out of sorts.
Yeah.
And then you see each other. And so, but usually I think when we get back together again, I think I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fight. And I'll put it off for a few days, but then always there will be a fight. So maybe let's try to do it right away.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe even in the Uber from the airport. Like, let's
Listen,
wrap it up
if
before
you
you
pick
open
me
the door.
up
Yeah.
from the airport
And I'm there on time.
and you're not on time, we can get that fight going right away. Because I'm already imagining my mom's going to pick me up in LA, and I'm already trying to think if she's late. My mom was a limousine driver when I was a kid at one point. So she knows the airports very well. But if she's doing some weird, like, go to departures and not arrivals because it's easier, something. And if she's at all late, I'm going to be in a foul, bad mood. And I
Fair.
don't want to be.
Fair. What were your mum's? So her weed dealing days and her limo driving days, did they ever cross over? Because what a fantastic service.
I know. No, they, I think she had stopped with the selling pot days.
Got a straight job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was because we had a friend who owned like limousines and town cars. Well, limousine, it's funny when town cars became a thing. Now people don't have limousines anymore because town cars are is that the
Well,
same
no,
in
they've
Australia?
stretched Hummers and stuff.
Yeah, like SUVs,
Yeah,
Hummers.
yeah, yeah.
What are those called? Those like in the Housewives, they call them a
Oh, the Sprinter.
Sprinter.
Yeah. Get a Sprinter.
but no limousines. But she has that embarrassing story where she picked up a couple and it was like traffic-y, and they put up the divider and she's in bumper to bumper traffic, and all of a sudden the limo starts going up and down because the couple were like doing it.
When this limo's a rockin'.
And she was so embarrassed.
Oh, she was? And that was only
yeah.
one time? I thought that was back in those days. That was like what you got a limo for.
I mean, because she was like, had to be the one where other cars could see her, and she had the up and down car.
But wait, it was really rocking? When I hear
Ask
stories
her,
like
ask
that,
her.
but listen, like in movies when like the
Yeah,
bed frame is
yeah.
like knocking people, it makes me feel like I've never had sex. Because I don't think I've ever like broken anything.
pillow queens.
I've never made a
and
car
I.
shake. I've like, I don't know, it just makes me feel like
we're both pillow queens. Is that what it's
puritanical.
called when you just
yeah.
relax?
Oh, right. There's just there's no aggressive just person in charge
Yeah, I don't know.
bringing the thunder.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to really be going up and down.
Yeah, I sort of thought it was almost like a urban legend, but I did hear that John and Yoko, they stayed at someone's house one night and that person heard them having sex and they were both making animal sounds. Like different animals though. Like she was doing like a bird and he was doing a monkey or something.
Okay. It's not my bag, but great.
No, but isn't it nice that they like their creativity never...
No, it's so true. I had a friend that got in sort of in that swingers phase when people got really into swing dancing in the
I didn't think you were
early
gonna-
90s
yes.
or something.
Oh, like the Cherry Pop and Daddies.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Never heard that before. But to your point, finding someone who likes what you like. So I had a friend, Arthur Africano, and he got into dressing 1940s, and he found a girlfriend who also, they dressed head to toe in 1940s.
Wait, he got her into it though?
No,
Or
they
he-
both liked it. They met at a swingers, like swingers meaning swing dancing.
Yeah, swing
not
dancing.
swinging. So, but I always thought that's cool. You find someone who's into your thing.
But don't you think if there's one lesson that our friends take from us getting together and having a successful relationship, it's just the odds seem so stacked against either of us meeting someone that we felt like...
Well, we had the same scene though, the same friends.
I know, but I just feel like you and I together, no one was
No.
calling that.
No.
No one was like, oh, they're going to
No.
end up together. And I think it gives people courage when you see, that's like, we're together. That's the point of it. That like, when you find someone that you can be
Yeah.
yourself with.
Well, it's not like an arranged marriage, but some of those marriages end up working out because you just you just stick it out. No, but we had an interest already, but it just worked out.
Totally.
We did an arranged marriage for ourselves.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up.
Okay.
Babe, have an amazing trip.
Thank you.
We're going to keep doing some pods via, Zoom or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I am personally seeing this as like the world is about to discover how incredible you are in a way that people who love you already know.
Yeah.
And it is like a very magical moment for people who appreciate you. So we're all cheering you on.
Thank you.
Don't forget about us when you're talking about smoking crack to the London Times.
I'm gonna have to do damage control. You're already like ruining my whole thing.
All right, beautiful
I didn't-
babies.
I'm not putting down crack smokers. I'm just saying I was not one of them.
Yeah, straight up. No, I hear you. We all know. We know. She
Okay.
never smoked crack.
I was around in the 80s in
yeah.
LA, but
And you can still pre-order the book. The link is in the show notes. I've got tour dates coming up, and jump over the Substack, sign up for our newsletter, and
we'll put a song on the end of this.
let's put a song from Beers for Beer.
Sounds great.
This is Everything's Better with Beer. I own the rights to this, so this is all kosher. So let's let it fade out, beautiful babies.
Have a good time. Put some grain with yeast in the Middle East.